First, watch this clip. What you're about to see could change the way you think about history, science, and even faith. Dr. John Campbell recently shared something absolutely stunning about the Shroud of Turin, and it might be one of the most extraordinary mysteries of our time.
It's almost like that this is a message for later times. While the shroud could be appreciated in earlier centuries, no one knew it was a photographic negative until photography was invented. No one knew it had three-dimensional information until the people started wanting to interpret the topography of distant planets and so many other things that science is revealing about this quite extraordinary artifact.
That was truly powerful. The Shroud of Turin isn't just a piece of cloth. It holds questions science still can't fully answer. Now let's take a closer look at the facts, the science, and the mystery behind it. Keep watching.
Dr. John Campbell has recently shared something truly extraordinary about the Shroud of Turin, something that has the potential to reshape how we think about history, science, and even faith. What makes this discovery so incredible is that it seems almost designed to be recognized only in modern times. For hundreds of years, people saw the shroud as a sacred object, but its most remarkable feature remained hidden until the invention of photography. Only when cameras became part of human technology did people realize what the shroud truly contained, a mysterious negative image that reveals far more than the naked eye can see. The Shroud of Turin is a long piece of linen cloth, around 14 feet in length, that bears the faint but unmistakable image of a man who appears to have been brutally beaten, scourged, and crucified. Many believe it to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. Over the centuries, the shroud has survived wars, travels, and even a massive fire in 1532, which caused significant burn marks and water stains. Yet despite all that damage, the central image remained intact, almost as if it were being protected by something greater. What makes this relic even more fascinating is that, for much of its history, its true nature wasn't even understood. People saw the image, but they didn't fully grasp what it was or how it had formed. It wasn't until 1898 when an Italian photographer named Secondo Pia took the first photograph of the shroud that the shocking revelation emerged. When Pia developed the photographic negative, he expected to see a reversed image, as one normally would. But instead, he saw a detailed, positive image of a man's face and body, almost like a high-resolution portrait. This was something that no one had anticipated. The shroud, it turned out, wasn't just a religious artifact. It was also a kind of supernatural photograph that predated photography by over 1,000 years. Dr. Campbell points out that this revelation should have changed everything, but surprisingly, it was met with skepticism, especially from Protestant thinkers. One of the most prominent critics was John Calvin, a major figure in the Protestant Reformation. Calvin was so convinced the shroud was a hoax that many Protestant groups chose to ignore it altogether. For centuries, the shroud remained mostly within Catholic circles, dismissed by others as just another medieval forgery. But Dr. Campbell argues that this was a serious mistake, like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Just because many relics from the Middle Ages turned out to be fake doesn't mean all of them were. Things changed dramatically in 1978 when a team of scientists and experts formed the Shroud of Turin Research Project, known as STURP. One of the members, photographer Vernon Miller, took a series of detailed images of the shroud under different lighting and photographic techniques. What he captured was astonishing: clear anatomical features including the man's face, eyes, nose, lips, and even blood stains. These weren't just artistic touches. They were consistent with real injuries caused by scourging, beatings, and crucifixion. The blood patterns matched what would happen if someone had worn a crown of thorns, been whipped on the back and shoulders, and had nails driven through their wrists and feet. Modern scientists confirm that the stains on the shroud are indeed real human blood. In fact, the blood was identified as type AB, a rare type found in the Middle East. The forensic evidence supported the idea that the man on the shroud had suffered intense physical trauma. His body shows marks of being flogged with a Roman flagrum, a whip with metal balls or bones tied to its ends. There are over 100 scourge marks on the back and legs alone. The shoulders are deeply bruised, likely from carrying something heavy, like a wooden cross. The knees are scraped, suggesting repeated falls. The nose appears broken, and the face is swollen, possibly from punches or being struck with a staff. Part of the beard seems to have been torn out, a detail that eerily matches the description in the book of Isaiah, which mentions a man so beaten and disfigured that he no longer resembled a human being. Dr. Campbell points out that some of these wounds match the descriptions of Jesus' suffering as told in the Gospels. For example, the crown of thorns is clearly seen through bloodstains across the forehead and scalp. The wrist wounds, not in the palms as traditional art shows, are anatomically correct for how the Romans actually crucified people, since nails through the palms would not support the weight of the body. The wound in the side is particularly important. According to the Gospel of John, after Jesus died on the cross, a Roman soldier pierced his side with a spear to confirm death. The shroud shows a large oval wound on the right side of the chest, with blood and clear fluid, exactly what one would expect from a pierced heart and lungs. Even more fascinating is how modern technology has deepened the mystery. NASA imaging tools, originally developed for space exploration, were used to examine the shroud. They revealed that the image isn't just a flat surface print. It actually contains three-dimensional information. This means the shading of the image corresponds with the physical distance between the body and the cloth. No known artistic technique, especially from the medieval period, can replicate this effect. In other words, the image is not painted, printed, or burned onto the cloth by hand. It's more like a radiation imprint, something that happened at a moment of intense energy release, yet it didn't destroy the linen fibers. This has led some to speculate that the image might have been created during what Christians call the resurrection, a burst of energy, light, or radiation that left a detailed impression of Jesus' body on the cloth. While that idea can't be proven scientifically, it's a theory that continues to attract interest, even among non-religious researchers. The shroud also matches the biblical narrative of how Jesus was buried. The Gospels say that Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy follower of Jesus, took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen cloth. The shroud shows the front and back of a man who was laid out flat, with the cloth folded over the top of him. This detail fits perfectly with Jewish burial customs of the time. Even the way the blood flowed across the body lines up with how a real corpse would have bled after death while lying in that position. Despite centuries of doubt, debate, and scientific investigation, the Shroud of Turin remains one of the most studied artifacts in human history. Its image cannot be explained by medieval art techniques, and it continues to defy our understanding of how images are created. Whether one believes it is the burial cloth of Jesus or not, the shroud presents a mystery that blends ancient prophecy, modern science, and timeless questions about life, death, and what might lie beyond. The Shroud of Turin continues to capture the imagination of people around the world. It is more than just an old piece of cloth. It appears to hold the suffering, death, and mystery of a man who lived and died centuries ago. The stains and marks on the fabric seem to tell a silent but powerful story. Many believe this man was Jesus Christ, and that the cloth once wrapped his crucified body. When scientists and researchers examined the shroud closely, they noticed something strange. The image on the cloth isn't like a painting. It's not made with paint, dye, or any known coloring material. Instead, the image rests only on the top surface of the tiny linen fibers so thin that they are just 2 to 2.5 microns thick. This means the image wasn't painted, but somehow appeared on the outer layer of the cloth without soaking in. In 1978, a team of experts carried out one of the most detailed scientific studies ever done on the shroud. They used special equipment to analyze the fabric and discovered that the image couldn't have been made using normal artistic methods. There were no brush strokes, no pigment, and no signs of any traditional art technique. What they found was an image that seemed to be naturally formed, almost like a photo, but created long before photography even existed. What's even more mysterious is the incredible detail shown in the image. You can clearly see wounds that match those described in ancient Roman crucifixions. There are deep marks across the back, as if from a whipping. The hands and feet show damage where nails could have been driven through. There's even a wound in the side, consistent with a spear injury. But these marks aren't painted. They appear as part of the image, and their accuracy amazes medical experts to this day. Another strange fact is the presence of blood. Scientists tested the stains and confirmed they are real human blood. The blood has even remained reddish in color after nearly 2,000 years, which is unusual. Normally, old blood turns dark or brown. But in this case, the blood contains high levels of a substance called bilirubin, which appears when someone suffers extreme trauma, something that fits perfectly with the story of a man who was tortured and crucified. When viewed under a microscope, scientists found something even more fascinating. Around the bloodstains, there were halos of serum, clear signs that the blood separated as it dried, just like fresh blood does in real life. This detail would be nearly impossible for a forger to fake. One of the most astonishing discoveries came when experts used 3D imaging to study the shroud. Unlike normal photographs or drawings, the image on the cloth contains full three-dimensional information. By feeding the data into a computer, researchers were able to create a lifelike 3D model of the man's body. His features, his wounds, and even the position of his limbs were all visible in stunning detail. The man shown on the shroud appears to be in rigor mortis, a stiffening of the body that occurs after death. His arms are lowered and his legs are slightly bent, as though his muscles locked in place while he was still hanging from the cross. His head seems slightly lifted, not because it was resting on a pillow, but because of how the body stiffened during crucifixion. The shroud captures all of this with surprising medical precision. So how was this image formed? That's still a mystery. Some believe it could have been created by a burst of radiant energy, like a flash of light, coming from the body itself. Scientists have even tried using powerful lasers to recreate the effect, but they haven't succeeded. The truth is, even with today's advanced technology, we still can't fully explain how the image got there. Back in 1988, carbon dating tests were done on a small piece of the shroud. The results suggested the cloth was from the Middle Ages, around the years 1260 to 1390. This made many people think the shroud was a fake. But later studies revealed that the piece used in the test came from a section that had been repaired in the past, using newer threads. This likely caused the test to give a false date. More recent research, using modern dating methods like spectroscopy, suggests that the cloth may actually be from the 1st century. Some experts say its weave, structure, and even its pollen-matched textiles found in ancient Israel, dating it to the time of Jesus. This adds even more weight to the belief that the shroud might truly be the burial cloth of Christ. Doctors and historians who study the shroud agree on one thing. The image is incredibly accurate. No known artist from the Middle Ages or even today could have created such realistic wounds, body positions, and 3D effects without modern knowledge and tools. Every detail, from the blood to the muscles to the injuries, lines up with what we know about Roman executions. In the end, we are left with a mystery that science has not yet solved. Is it possible that this image was formed by something beyond our current understanding? Could it truly be the result of a divine event like the resurrection? Or is there a scientific explanation that we just haven't discovered yet? No matter what you believe, the Shroud of Turin remains one of the most powerful and puzzling relics in the world. It challenges historians, amazes scientists, and inspires faith in millions. And the question still stands. How did the image on the shroud appear? And who was the man behind it?